Hey lovies, welcome back to my channel. I'm kind of doing this like vlog style type of intro for episode 2. So I kind of want to review some of the things that I don't really see a lot of other crafters doing, which is pretty much giving you tips to be safe, right? When you're working with spray paint, please be sure to wear protective mask so that way the fumes, you're not inhaling the fumes. And you can get that from 3M on Amazon. In 2 days you'll have it and you'll be ready to do your crafts. But you guys, do yourself a favor and always protect yourself. Wear a mask, wear the 3M mask, wear gloves, things like that. Protect your body, and that's most important, you know. Like, we are having fun at Halloween, we're saving money, we're doing crafts, but I love my subbies. I'm at 100 subbies, woo! And I want you to be protected. So definitely wear some masks, goggles, be safe, and enjoy episode 2. Alright, so I'm going to go over the product list that you would need for the first DIY project, which is the skull hanging frame. So I have a bunch of things that I bought at the Dollar Tree because I'm doing my craft room reorganization, and I bought this caddy pretty much to gather the things that I need for projects. So as you see, I'm using it like that here. So this is a really cool tip and a really good way to keep all the things that you need to do your project organized and in one place. So I'm going to put this aside and kind of go over just the materials that you're going to be needing for this project. The first thing that you're going to need from the Dollar Tree, everything is from the Dollar Tree here, so is some Christmas lights. I chose these lights because they either come in red or white, and yes, Christmas stuff is already out in the Dollar Tree, which is kind of blowing my mind because we're not even anywhere close to October. So I got red and white lights, so I'm not too sure which one I'm going to use for this one. Actually, I lied. We have E6000. This is from Home Depot, and I think it cost me about $3, but this along with hot glue is really awesome way to adhere your projects together, and it's pretty much going to give you a permanent bond. We have our glue gun, which I don't have here because it's heating up, but I have glue sticks here. Some scissors. Gloves for when we spray paint. I have matte spray paint. An X-Acto knife. This awesome cameo skull wall hanging that I got from the Dollar Tree. And 4 frames to go along with it. So for the inside of the frames, we're gonna need some paper. You could buy paper at the Dollar Tree. I happen to have some in my stash. So this is from a Michael's paper pack, the Raven's Head. I think it was last year's Halloween paper. So I'm pretty much undecided between this spider web, this wooden one, and this really pretty gilded. Don't think I'm going to use the gilded because there's gold in here and that'll kind of be just too much gold, but you'll see once we get into it. Maybe I'll switch them up and see what works best. But yeah, these are the items that you're going to need. At the end of the day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is probably less than a $15 project, and I think it's going to be really awesome, so stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is pop out the silver section with the skull out of the frame. And if you notice, the frame is really shiny and I don't like that. It looks pretty cheap. So I'm taking it outside and giving it just 1 to 2 coats of the matte spray paint. Next, I'm going to be taking the Dollar Tree frames and just pretty much taking them apart. You'll see me here just removing the plastic. Then we'll go and remove the paper and the inside so we can fill it with our design paper later. Here we are using the inside of the frames, the paper that comes with the frame, to cut out our decorative paper. There I just showed you that I wanted to use the corners of the paper because it had a distressed look. So here I'm just going to trace using that paper that came with the frame, and it should be a perfect fit. Also, cutting it on the sides, I was able to have that middle section clear, and this helps for any scraps. And this is some really awesome paper from last year. It's Halloween and it's hard to get it again, so any scraps that I can save from any of my projects, I'm definitely willing to do. So I pretty much done cutting here, and the next step that we're going to be doing is just removing the backing again and just slipping our decorative paper inside each frame. The skull section is pretty much adhered to the cardboard, and it's going to be pretty tough for me to cut through that and the cardboard, which I don't want to do anyway, and you'll see later. So I had to pretty much separate the two, and that will make cutting the middle of the skeleton, or the skeleton portion of this cameo, and pop it out. So here I'm basically using an X-Acto knife to just give me a little bit of clearance for my small scissors, and then from there I'll pretty much use my scissors to cut all the way around. Once you start cutting, it's really smooth as long as you can use your X-Acto to get you started. So yeah, now we just popped out our middle skeleton from the full cameo, and I think it looks really cool and clean. The next thing here to do is adhere the silver cameo back to the backing, so that way we have a platform sort of to put back into the frame. Next, we're going to take the Dollar Tree Christmas lights and kind of just unwind them, pop the batteries in, and let's just kind of test out the lights and how it's going to glow against the cameo and frames. So what I'm doing here to pop out the middle skeleton is to actually use the battery pack for the height. So that way you can kind of adhere the lights, plug them in, and everything will be pretty much easy and ready to go. You need nothing else to give that three-dimensional look, all you need is the battery pack. So here, I'm just using some regular Scotch tape to hold the lights together as I wind them around. And once you're done, I think it looks really, really cool. There, I tested putting the skull on top to see how the lights looked, but I didn't like how they were popping out of the skull. So here I'm just using some hot glue to glue the lights in position, and I'm using the cutout as pretty much a template to where the lights shouldn't extend out, and that should be perfect. So the next step here is simply just to add the hot glue to the battery pack. And once you put that on there, I fell in love with the glowing of the outer side of the skeleton. But you guys, once I popped this into the frame, I was so pleasantly surprised that the edges of the frame glowed. Like, that was unexpected and it looks sick. So I'm really happy with that result, and I can't wait to see it lit up in the dark. The next thing I'm going to show you here is just we're going to be removing the backing of the frame. I'm not too sure if this is completely necessary, but I wanted to make sure that our wall hanging sits completely flat against the wall. So here I'm just taking a mixture of E6000 glue and our hot glue, and I'm affixing all of our frames together. Once you are done adhering all of your frames together, you're going to want to let the E6000 dry and cure overnight. It does take a while to completely dry. And the next step after this is to just simply take your hot glue gun and affix the middle cameo to your frames. I have done this here and forgot to record, but that's basically what I did. And y'all, the results are amazing. It looks great in my home. I think it's a very cool, fresh take on the Dollar Tree products, and let me know what you guys think. Okay, so for the next project, I had an idea to make this beware sign pretty much in like a wreath form, but I know there aren't basically wreath forms that are rectangular, especially like this large of a shape. They're usually 14, 16, 18 round shapes. So then I got thinking, do I really even need a wreath form if I have my pipe cleaners here? You know, I can just type of make a V and maybe adhere it to the back, and that would kind of be like the wreath form. I'll show you, and I'm hoping my idea can work out, but I really love the idea of having a sign and having the wreath around it. I don't think we're gonna have any holes. I think the actual ribbon and all the embellishments are just going to be around the sign, but I think it's gonna look really, really, really cool. I think this is gonna be pretty easy. It's just a matter of all the items that you have, and we'll go through that now. So the first thing you're gonna need is this beware sign. In the Dollar Tree, it comes in white and black, but I'm really loving like the monochromatic white and black colors for this year, or at least this episode. So you saw with the skeleton frame, that was pretty much white, black, gold. And then we're gonna try to follow it with this one. It'll be more orangey than gold, but I definitely want the colors to be white and black prevalent. So that's the first thing that you're gonna need is a sign. I just showed you, these are pipe cleaners, everything from the Dollar Tree. I have some skeletons. So we're still going to keep with the skeleton theme. The skeletons are basically for episode 2. That's that theme along with the white and the black. So here are the hands. We're going to paint these as I mentioned in episode 1. along with the paint, we're going to need, along with the hands, we're going to need some paint. I just have some Craft Smart paint, and I can drop some Martha Stewart. If I'm going to do projects like this, that I'm not really focusing on the project itself, this is going to be an embellishment to something, I rather just stick with a cheaper, like $1.50 paints than use up my Martha Stewart. So that's the paints that you're gonna need: white or cream color, black, and gray. You're gonna need your deco mesh. I have orange here and black. I have some ribbon also from the Dollar Tree that I showed you in episode 1. I'm obsessed with this. It has skulls, so it's pretty much perfect. I have the vase fillers that in episode 1 I said basically these are perfect just to kind of use hot glue and glue down anywhere because they're so light. It's like air. I have some raffia. I may use this, may not, for this color. I just love it against the white and the black, so we'll see with this. You'll need paintbrushes. And then pretty much whatever we had last time. So I have my hot glue sticks. I have more paintbrushes here. I have my E6000 should I need it. My pen, some tape. So those are the things that you will need. And yeah, I'm excited to get started. You will need a glue gun. And I like to use a little piece of aluminum foil just if I'm doing small painting. It's just no sense for me to bring out my paint palette when I have just a piece of aluminum foil, which works just great. So some water, paper towel, and we're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do here is remove the skeletons and just give these little guys a little bit of a repaint. Not too crazy, just a couple details to just give it that spooky edge. So once we're done adding the black details, we're gonna take a fluffy brush and lightly just swipe down on pretty much wet paint. That'll give it that drawn down look and just give it more of that eerie edge. Next, we're going to just take a little bit of the gray and just smooth over that bone color. This just gives that bone color and the actual details of the skull just a little pop, and it looks really good this way. I think it's just exactly what it needed. A little bit of splatter next, and you have pretty much a really awesome, more true to life skull feel, which looks awesome. Now we're going to actually start working on the sign. So the idea that I have for the sign is to make it pretty much a wreath. I've been watching a lot of fall and Halloween wreaths, and they put Dollar Tree signs in the middle, and I just love that idea. However, I really loved this long beware sign. So I thought, how can I pretty much get away with this? How can I pretty much make this look like a sign that's in the middle of a wreath without using a form? And then I thought about it. What do you do with the form? You put these pipe cleaners and pretty much tie them in a V shape. So I thought, do I even really need the wreath form? If I can just glue these shapes onto a board, maybe I can get away with it. So that's what we're doing here. I would take the pipe cleaners, You can follow the numbers that I have here. You can do more, you can do less. It's pretty much trial and error and just using your creativity. But let's continue on and see how well I actually do. Okay, so I have hot glued all of my pipe cleaners to the sign. And the next step here is to grab our orange deco mesh, and just like we would with a regular wreath, we're going to tie a section of the deco mesh to the pipe cleaner. Give about 5, maybe 6 inches in between. You can measure or you can just eyeball it. Here I pretty much eyeballed because the sections aren't very separated. So I think I did about 4 to 5 inches, and just leave like a little poof in between every pipe cleaner. You're gonna want to definitely tie them down pretty tight, not too tight because you're going to have to unwind it to do the second layer. But yeah, this is really, really simple. Just make your poofs, and if you don't do them too tight, the pipe cleaners, you're able to adjust like I just did there. So it's pretty much just looking at it and making sure all the poofs are going the same direction and they're all the same length. And now I'm coming to the end here. I push them out, and like, you guys, look how awesome that looks. I mean, we haven't really even filled it up, and it's looking really cool. Now here is where I wanted to repaint the hands from the Dollar Tree. In episode 1, I had mentioned that I wanted to repaint these because I really do love the molds of all the skeleton products. Like, I love those little skeleton heads that we just did. I love these hands. There's some birds, and I think, what else is there? Oh, a spider. And they're all really, really cool. They just need a paint job. So check out what I do here with a little bit of white, black, and gray. We can make these really, really cool looking. I want more of like the white skeleton and not just like this gross off cream color that they have here. So give it a shot. Not very difficult. Here I'm just putting white. You'll see I'll put black in the crevices, and I basically just again take that fluffy brush and just go over it. There's really no right or wrong here. The more messier you are, the more realistic it looks. It's bones. It's a skeleton. It's supposed to definitely look worn and not so plasticky. So give it a shot. I think you'll really like the results. And let's continue. Just a painting tip, the stippling really does do an awesome job in making things look more distressed and worn. You've seen that I've done that in the small skulls, and now I'm doing it with the hands. But just a little bit of stippling just gives it that much of like that dirty edge. And check out the results. I really, really love it, and I knew this was going to be worth the effort in painting. So I can't wait to use it on this wreath. So next we want to take the same orange deco mesh, and we're going to open up the pipe cleaners and make another poof. But this time we're going to turn the sign around so that way it's not pretty much facing the back, it's facing more forward to give it more of a dimensional look. These are going to be a lot tighter too, so they won't necessarily be 5 to 6 inches. They may be 3 to 4 on the smaller side. So you can see here that the poofs now have kind of one's towards the sign and one away from the sign, and that's definitely going to give it that wreath type of look. The next thing here is that we're going to use the Dollar Tree ribbon. I really love that skull ribbon, and some black deco mesh. So now that the deco mesh outer portion of the wreath is done, we're going to start to do the embellishing and the decoration of the wreath. So here I'm just basically measuring out the sections that I want to use for the small rolls that we're going to be using to decorate the wreaths with. And once I do one, I'm able to use that as pretty much the template for the rest of them. It's definitely best to measure and cut your pieces ahead of time. That way when you're working with your wreath, you're not fussing around with all the material. So here I'm basically using my mesh to measure out the ribbon. You'll see that in the beginning I have cut too long of strips, and I definitely want these pieces not to overwhelm the orange deco mesh. So I would just maybe put your ribbon next to your wreath and make sure that is the size that you want to go with. I noticed that they were too long, and when I cut them down, they were perfect. So now we're going to begin adding the additional pieces to our wreath. We're going to roll the black deco mesh and make these loops. This is that specific style of deco mesh that you can add to your wreath. And I'm just going to cut our ribbon and add it to our black deco mesh. So once we do that, we put them on top of each other. We remove the pipe cleaner again, we untie it, we place our new black deco mesh ribbon together, and then we tie the pipe cleaner back together again. Once you fluff this out, it becomes like somewhat like a little bow, and it looks really, really, really cute. The ribbon tails are super easy to do. Once you fold the ribbon long ways and then fold in half, all you have to do is make one cut, and there you go. You have two-sided ribbon tails. So you will repeat this deco mesh ribbon process for all of the pipe cleaners that you have. Super simple, not too crazy. I wouldn't worry about the look of it just yet. If you're seeing any holes or it's not fluffed out, we can do that all at the end. You'll see. Wow, you guys, our wreath is really starting to come together. I'm loving the colors. I love the black and white. I'm glad we added just a little pop of orange, so that way it's just not too monochromatic. And next we're going to be taking the pumpkin sticks, cutting them down a little bit, and just adding them sporadically to your wreath. I think I added 3 per side and maybe 1 or 2 on the top and bottoms. It's not the biggest detail, but it definitely adds that special touch, especially when you get towards the end. Next, we're going to take the glitter vase fillers, just pretty much pick out the bigger black balls of the bunch, and we're just, again, going to just hot glue this sporadically onto the wreath just to give it some more fill and some little details that make the wreath awesome. We're coming down to the end of the wreath here. So I'm taking the small skulls that we recently repainted and just adding them to the middle of our rolled black deco mesh and ribbon. I think this is pretty much the best finishing touches of this wreath. And we're almost done, guys. Not too much more. The last and final step, we are taking our hand-painted skull hand and we're gonna simply just hot glue it to the bottom of our sign. You guys, this looks so cool. I'm so glad we painted this small pieces. It really gives that wreath just that extra pop. And kind of gears away from the cheesy plastic look. This wreath is sick, and I'm so proud of being able to make pretty much a wreath without a form. So cool. So thank you everyone for watching and crafting along with me on the second episode of Dollarween. I do want to give a giveaway of one of my items each episode, so all you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment below, and I will pick a winner each week for one of these items. Till next time, lovies. Mwah.